for the children to make sure they're growing and learning and having fun and that they have to do that as well. Because otherwise the kids feel, hmm, some kind of resistance going on.
I think, it's commendable that all do in the field of early care education. I think that's the foundation for building good people in the world. I wanted to ask you questions, and I want you to think about how this theme has impacted your life professionally, and from two perspectives, from the employee perspective, also from your leadership perspective. When you think about the culture of your organization and or organizations that you've worked with, what invisible barriers or unspoken rules still hold people back?
The non-alignment of what a mission is like you see a mission for an organization, but then you see people who aren't following that, the leaders, and it's just like it kind of makes you go, what's really going on here? There's printed, but talk doesn't follow the walk.
Mm. And tell me a really good point, because I think that's something that happens in a lot of work environments where organizations have their vision, but not everybody is aligned with it, nor do they follow it. And so, given that that was your experience in one of your past professional environments, what did you do to help bring alignment? And were you successful?
I don't think I was successful.
Okay.
Because I'm one that always likes to challenge, and if I see something that doesn't make sense, and why is it happening? But yet you're supposed to follow these missions, so it was sort of like, I think it's time to move on because it's not feeling centered and I just don't feel comfortable anymore.
Yeah. It's hard to challenge the status quo on large organizations where bureaucracy plays a really big role too. And so I think that there are a lot of dynamics at play when we're talking about psychological safety and building trust. And it really has to come from your team and the leaders that you're working with. Now, in your opinion, what do you think builds psychological safety within a working team?
That there's gut is telling you it's authentic and that you see people who they are. It doesn't matter what the title is or who they're talking with. It's just like everybody's being treated the same. And of course, there's times that a situation might have to be handled differently depending on what circumstance is taking place. But to have that trust, it's just like you sense that it's an authentic exchange that's going on, and that it's not, oh, I'm so and so title, and so I can do this versus we're all equal, we're all human, and that put pants on the same way. So,
Or skirts?
yep, that's true.
No, I absolutely agree. So tell me about a time where you had to manage an experience that did not provide complete transparency, or you maybe even feeling blindsided, where that psychological safety piece was shaken.
I was actually in my supervision with my supervisor, and I said to her I wasn't feeling comfortable that the eye contact wasn't there while we were talking
Mm.
and she was busy doing notes or something. She says, "Well, making eye contact while you're in supervision is just something those white people made up." I was like, "Whoa." And I reported it to HR, but I was like, just put up red flags.
It's interesting because, speak of, and this is a little bit off topic, but it is a part of what we're talking about today. And it's cultural awareness and cultural competence of the people that are in front of you. As leaders, we have to adapt and adjust to the needs of our people. It is our job to make people feel comfortable and to feel seen. And I think that's what you're talking about is the need to be seen and to feel heard. And when you're with your one on one, with your supervisor, part of that leadership role is to have that staff member feel seen. And so, what did you learn? Because these moments in life change you. We make really big decisions about what we want to do next and how we want to manage people. So, what did that experience do for you moving forward, knowing that you are a leader of others?
It had me really look at reverse racism and even see, cultures treat each other. And it was just like being really sensitive to somebody else. So it's just like, what somebody has to say and not making a statement just because I was feeling challenged. And clearly she was feeling challenged. And so she got defensive. And it's like, that doesn't work. You can't be defensive when you're working with somebody. You have to hear them out and understand. And as a true leader, you see both sides of the story.
What would you ask them or advise them to do to ensure they begin to build a safe space for their employees?
Trust themselves and, second guess, because a lot of times we second guess ourselves when we're in a new situation instead of saying, I can handle this. I know what's going on. And if they don't feel something's comfortable, ask for support and say, check in with somebody else saying, this is what happened. Did I handle it right? Didn't I not handle it? Feedback from somebody on the outside.
I think it's also important that when we're talking about having people feel safe, that we are, like you said, giving them opportunities to speak up, to be heard, to share their thoughts and ideas. Feedback, I think feedback is extremely important.
Right.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about a time where you had to hold people accountable and how's your strategy in preserving the dignity and trust and well being of that person without falling into a pattern of fear driven leadership.
Um, why we were having the conversation and that needing to hear their perspective of what happened and not quickly to make a judgment, but to really play out and provide what information I could about why we were having the conversation and what led up to it. And even share own prior experience of something similar happening and how it was handled and the outcome and everything. So they knew that it wasn't to be a finger pointing session, but to help them build who they are and what their responsibility are, being a teacher in a classroom and how that shapes what's going on and how parents trust them with their child.
And that's really big. So, what I hear you saying is that in conversations of accountability, part of it is not only giving honest feedback quickly, but also being vulnerable and sharing your own past experiences so that person understands that it happens to all of us. There are things that happen and we're all held accountable. And so I like that you shared an experience that was relatable. And I think that sets the tone for a very honest and kind conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Agree.
All right. So let's have a closing reflection here. How can you create one new space for courageous conversations?
Hmm. I think it's the atmosphere and how you have that conversation. You sitting behind a desk or you sitting next to the person so there isn't that power play and that you're on a level playing field.
I love that. That's actually a great response. My last question to you is what would you advise your younger self, knowing what you know now, everything that you've learned? What would you advise your younger self related to leadership and the treatment of people and psychological safety?
That it's okay to trust yourself. Sometimes we second guess, but if something doesn't feel right, to speak up and it's okay to challenge that.
Wonderful. Karen, I appreciate your time with me. Is there any last words you'd like to share on our psychological safety and trust building segment today?
It just doesn't happen over time, but you learn how to do it. And when there is the trust and the safety, it makes all the difference.
Wonderful. Karen, thank you for joining us and have an amazing afternoon.
You too.